Napaka-engaged sa mga communities. We just came from UP Mindanao where all the students were on fire. Talagang they're going to change the world na talaga and revolutionize it. Tapos kahapon nasa People's Park po kami for the big launch there. It's been really so inspiring and so moving. So I just wanted to share with you like what our journey has been with 1 Billion Rising and also what it is for those who are not yet so familiar with 1 Billion Rising. You saw earlier our wonderful actresses who did Vagina Monologue. Palakpakan pa natin sila. Actually, the 1 Billion Rising was birthed from the V-Day movement. And the V-Day movement is a movement to end violence against women and girls. And this was spearheaded by the author of the play, The Vagina Monologues, and her name is Eva Ensler. And she wrote that play way back in the early 90s. And me, as a theater actor, theater producer, I had set up my theater company, New Voice Company, when I came back from doing Miss Saigon for 3 years in London. Kasi feeling ko, I grew up kasi in theater, no? I was 9 years old when I joined the Repertory Philippines with Leia. We would do Annie, Sound of Music, you know, all the mga shows, the normal musicals. And of course, I was very lucky when I was 19. I got chosen for Miss Saigon. I did that for 3 years and I was able to study drama in London as well. Pero siguro as I was growing up, because before I went to Miss Saigon, I was a student in UP. And doon talaga namula talaga ako. I woke up to so many issues. So umiba yung direction na desire ko for theater. So after Miss Saigon, my dream talaga was to come back, punta ko theater company kung saan our objective was to educate, inspire, transform societies, and also incite people into taking some action. Parang mas transformative yung objective as opposed to entertainment lang. So for many years, we chose plays that were, of course, political, feminist. So in those years, parang meron akong isang life as an artist, meron akong isang life as an activist, although very green. Baby activist pa ako noon sa UP, sumasali-sali sa mga rally. And for years, hindi ko talaga ma-blend ma-marry yung dalawang worlds na yun. Because I also thought they were kind of separate. Kasi you're show business, you're doing films, and then I found the play, The Vagina Monologues, in 1999. Somebody gave me a book and said, Monique, you do a lot of feminist political plays. You know, we had done plays like Angels in America about homosexuality, we had done plays on sexual harassment, we had done plays about incest, on street children. So sabi na, you have to produce this play. Kasi it's really in alignment with your theater company. So I read it and I fell in love with the book. And then I found myself in New York, napanood ko yung, hindi ko napanood si Eve, pero may napanood akong 3 actresses. And for an hour and a half, for anyone who's seen the show, or has been in the show, it's really a roller coaster ride of pathos and humor and awakening and political education. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've been in theater since I was 9 years old and I'd never experienced a play that gave me that kind of energy, that kind of fire in me to want to change something in society. So I quickly wrote to Eve Ensler's agent, hindi ko pa siya kilala noon. I said, I'm Monique from the Philippines, I want to do your play in the Philippines. And she goes, okay. So they gave us the permission to do it. And we were able to do it all around the Philippines, in Hong Kong, Japan, Singapore, and migrant communities everywhere in the world. But I very quickly realized also na hindi ko magagawa yung play. Despite I had been in theater already at that point for 20-something years, unless I partnered with Gabriela Davao. Because I also recognized that the play was different. It's not a normal play. It was a play that could be a catalyst for change. It could be a play that could empower women. It could be a play that really transformed society. And for the first time, I felt, yung artistic side, kaya ko. Kaya mo yun kasi doon ako nag-train. Pero yung political, social side, marami pa akong hindi alam. So at that point naman, 1999, in-invite naman ako ng Gabriela to be the international spokesperson of the Purple Rose Campaign, which is an anti-sex trafficking campaign. So we already knew each other. It was very early stages of our relationship. So I went to them, sabi ko, Gab sisters, would you be willing to partner with me with the Vagina Monologues? Because I need your expertise, I need your experience, and I need the context of the Philippine women's movement and what are our struggles as Filipino women to make the show work in our context. Kasi, you know, we have to make it our own, or we have to also not change it or localize it, but to make it reach our communities. Not just communities, also our government, also other sectors. And of course, they quickly said yes. They quickly said yes. We used it in the year 2000 to really push the Purple Rose campaign. We also used it to push the advocacy of our comfort women lolas. Because the play is connected to the V-Day movement. And in fact, when Eve Anster was able to come to the Philippines, she was at our folk arts theater event way back in 2002. We had 100 artists on stage with us. We had Regine Velasquez, Mitch Valdez, we had Nanette Inventor, we had Aita Segura, we had everyone on stage with us. Sabi niya, yung mga natatakot mag-monologue, sabi sa akin, kakanta lang kami. I said, okay lang, but you just be on stage with us. Kasi iba yung solidarity na nakikita ng communities when everyone is standing together on stage, demanding an end to violence. And I think, you know, the media were so supportive and they were really so, I guess, taken aback that, you know, all the sectors have come together to support this. So we were invited, of course, by, it was spearheaded by our own congresswoman at that time, Lisa Masa. Sabi niya, Monique, we want to invite you to Congress and Senate to perform the Vagina Monologues there. Sapagkat we have two bills that are still 10 or 15 years na parang on the floor. Hindi gumagalaw. The bill on sex trafficking and domestic violence. Sabi ng female legislators sa amin, we're tired of debating, discussing, giving reports, giving data. I think we need actors to come into the Senate and Congress and perform the piece. And then we'll see how they'll react, the male legislators. That's a very revolutionary act even in those years, no? 2002. Pumunta kami doon, we performed it, at yung mga male legislators, umiiyak talaga sila. They said, we didn't realize that this is what women go through when they're violated. Kasi diba, when you read like a report saying, okay, 350,000 women are raped every year in the Philippines, that's an astonishing data. But people will be like, oh really? Diba? Parang it's like they don't really get moved. But when you see an actress performing a piece where she says, you know, the military shoved a rifle up my vagina and tore it apart and blew it apart. And that vagina, to her, symbolized her village and her hometown and her community, and now you destroyed it. That really moves people. So we saw also the power of the play, how the play also smashed taboos about sexuality. It also smashed stigma about women's empowerment. Because really the core of the play kasi was this if you cannot say the word vagina, we always think it's vulgar, we think it's, you know, nakakahiya, then how can you say you've been raped? If you are raped, how can you say you've been sexually abused? I was just telling Ate Neng, you know, like, meron kaming, I've had so many amazing stories on this journey of Vagina Monologues and V-Day into 1 Billion Rising. But I was just remembering last night that in the Nicole rape case, remember Nicole, our Filipina from Olongapo who was raped by the U.S. by Smith, the U.S. serviceman. Prior to that, many years ago, I had gone to my fellow townswomen, town awardee kasi po ako, and I went to them also asking them to support Vagina Monologues in the year 1999. Sabi nila sa akin, it's vulgar. Vulgar, we're not going to support you. Monique, ano ka ba? You're like, you know, we support you if you do mga musicals, mga concerts. Don't go into that area. Sabi ko, you're supposed to be the awardees of the most outstanding women of the nation. Diba yun ang award na binigay sa atin? Bakit? Why would you not stand up for women's rights? Anything but not the word vagina. Parang allergic sila. Because these are like helpless women, you know, from all sectors of society. Pero parang hiya talaga sila. They couldn't put two and two together. So I said, okay, baka they're not ready yet. So, I went away muna. The show was successful. Oh my gosh, yung Music Museum theater namin talagang sold out. Nakasnake talaga yung line to vagina. They would not allow me to say it on TV. No, in fact, they would tell me, just say V more. Ako naman. Oo lang ako. Pag live na, vagina more, tapos pinuputulo ako. But you just have to be radical kasi otherwise, like, why are we so ashamed to say the word vagina, right? So eventually, it really became accepted. A year later, we did Usaping Tuki, which is the Tagalog version. Yun naman, sabi naman ng mga editors ng mga TV sa akin, okay na yung vagina ngayon, sasabihin mo yung Tuki yung TV. Hindi talaga pwede. Sabi ko, ay naman daw, mas kanon mo talaga yan. If you can say vagina, why can't you say Tuki? Why is it given such a bad connotation? Do you know that after 2 years, we can say na Tuki on TV also? So I really saw huge, like, changes talaga, editors putting it on the headlines, the newspapers, parang accepted na siya. So going back to the Nicole Rape case, I was sitting beside Senator Shani. She was one of those fellow town awardees na nagsabi sa akin, that's not a very good title. And in the courtroom of the Makati courts, when the verdict was being read about Nicole, and then the clerk of court was saying, found guilty is Smith because he lacerated her vagina, he tore apart her vagina. It was describing the kind of rape she went through and the kind of violence. Even Senator Chahani turned to me and said, I owe you an apology because may still be talaga yung play na ginawa niyo. Because I would never imagine in all my years as a politician that I would hear the word vagina over and over again in a local courtroom in a verdict of guilty against a person who had violated talaga a girl so badly. So, that has been our journey with the vagina monologues. And finally, when we did do the play in the Senate and Congress, the bills were passed a few months later. So, may effect yung artists. Meron tayong contribution talaga. Kasi sinasabi na even though my artist friends say, we're only artistas, what can we do? Kasi lahat naman tayo may makakontribute in our own sectors, in our own ways, in our own capacities, di ba? Ako nga when I go with Gabriela, ngayon nga, confident na ako mag-Tagalog. 2 years ago, we were starting OBR. Pag nag-rally-rally kami, kanta na lang ako kasi hindi ako confident na mag-speech in Tagalog. And syempre, my Gabriela sisters, in-encourage na, okay yan sis, kahit nagbulog ka, just go. Go and talk. So ako naman, okay lang. Until you get encouragement and parang confidence na to do it. And you also realize it's not really about you in the end. It's not about you. You're there, you serve people. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be so successful. You just have to show up and serve. Just serve, however way you can. So this 1 Billion Rising really was born 3 years ago from the V-Day movement. Because even Fleur and all the long-time V-Day activists, we were all talking, parang, we've been advocating for a long time through V-Day, through vagina monologues, same as Gabriela, same as many movements around the world. And yet, as we see the women rising and getting empowered, we're also seeing the levels of impunity going up. And we're also seeing so many forms of violence that are exploding in front of us. Yung parang state-instigated violence, some of the worst kind, and the normalization of violence in the local cultures and also the media, and in the understanding of people. So we actually came up with the billion because of the UN statistic that their data says 1 in every 3 women in her lifetime will be raped or beaten. That's 1 in every 3 women. And if you calculate that, that's 1 billion women. In fact, that's only data of what we know. So many countries that we went to, it's 1 out of 2 women are raped or beaten in their community. So actually, mas malaki pa actually yung data. So what we thought is, why don't we say 1 billion? Just use that as an image for people. Na ganun karaming women in and around our lives are getting raped or beaten or economically violated as we speak, as we live our daily lives. And why are we not enraged about it? Why are we not doing everything we can in our power to stop it? Why are we turning a blind eye, some of us? Or why are we feeling apathetic to it already? That it just becomes another story in the news or another data. And what our objective with 1 Billion Rising was to really gather people or put a call out na mag-gather yung mga taong Feb 14. Why Feb 14? Because the V-Day movement was born on Feb 14, not just because it's vagina, but it was really meant as victory over violence. And that's why that's when we always celebrate it. And really what our objective 2 years ago was just to highlight the fact that there's a femicide going on now around the world. What do you mean by femicide? Our women are dying now from economic neglect, from violence, from state-instigated forms of violence. So why are we not escalating also our actions to stop it? So our objective in the first year was just for people to gather and dance, just to show the numbers. And why dance? A lot of people ask me, why dance in the beginning? Because there's so many forms of protest, diba? So many forms of protest. And in fact, vagina monologues is like a form of protest because it's theater as a form of protest. And the V-Day movement has always been art and activism. Because as we saw in the Senate and Congress and many other places, it's different talaga when you use art as activism because it doesn't touch the reasoning. It doesn't touch the head, it touches the heart. And I think once people are moved by something, they will be forced to act. Kasi hindi na sila makaka-step back, di ba? Parang when something changes you because you felt something about it, then you really cannot step back from that anymore. You must contribute to ending it. So we thought, okay, why dance? Di ba kasi when you think of a woman who's been violated or raped, ang prison niya, yung naging prison niya is her body. The shame is given to the body. Diba? She's outcast because of her body. Diba? Even when you think of the Adam and Eve story, diba? For centuries, si Eve yung na-blame for eating the apple. Siya yung na-blame for the original sin. Bakit? Diba? Bakit? Diba? And it's like parang the woman is always the downfall of something. Bakit? We need to question those things, diba? And it's an indoctrination that's given to us. And why are we so ashamed about something that was created in such a sacred and divine way? I mean, look at our bodies. It's such an amazing instrument. And yet, so much centuries of shame have been put on us. So dance was really a symbolic action on many levels. Symbolic because if you're a survivor of violence, it's a way to break free of those chains that have really enslaved you in your darkness of shame. And now you can come back into the light because so many people around you are supporting you. And you don't have to live anymore in that silence with the shame that has been given to you. When you're the survivor and the victim, you're not supposed to be the one who's living with the shame. Your perpetrator is the one who should be living with the shame. But really, as we know, it's always the other way around. Second reason for dance, it's a collective energy talaga. I mean, you saw kanina, we were in Mindanao. Feeling ko talaga, kahit na medyo pagod ako, when I stepped in with the students, parang, oh, grabe yung energy. Grabe yung energy nila. And the dancing together, I don't know, does something. It's like a certain fusion of energy where you feel close to each other. You're doing something collectively. And the third layer of it is that it's a form of protest, but it's also something that says we are hopeful and we insist on our future. So, although it can still look threatening, like for example, tomorrow I'm going to go to Hacienda Luisita. We're going to do one video right there. It's the 10th anniversary of the massacre in Hacienda Luisita. Last year, when I did one-way riding with them, all the farm worker women, nag-practice sila ng one-way riding, naka-red kami lahat. We were walking towards the soldiers. Sabi ng mga soldiers, kaya nila, we're going to throw something, or parang they were so threatened. Tapos nung nag-play na yung music at sumayaw na yung mga nanay, parang sabi ng mga sundalo, binabanan sila. Kasi parang they want to dance na yata with the women. So it literally disarmed them, and I saw it. Because what they felt was a threatening energy actually became another kind of energy where they were forced to not show their aggression back. So, on so many levels, dance is really does so many things. It really does so many things. So, the first year was a call to action for just to end violence against women and girls. And what did we see 2 years ago? It really became a #1 priority issue in so many countries. 207 countries joined. Thousands and thousands of groups. Hindi na namin talaga mag-count. Grabe yung response ng world. Kasi syempre, hindi na namin alam. Is this really a crazy idea? Ask people to dance? Susunod kaya sila? And we saw thousands and thousands. Ngayon, noon, the first year, ako yung Philippine coordinator for Wonderland. Because of my long history with the Johnny Monologue, so Eve answer said, could you coordinate the Philippines? Yeah, sure. Of course, I went to Gabriela. And ang nakita ng mundo, parang ang laki-laki ng mga risings natin dito in the Philippines. And Davao really was one of the biggest risings in the Philippines. Saka colorful, creative, radical, audacious, fearless, unafraid. And it was so amazing. And because of social media now, ang hindi ko na-realize is kita pala ng buong mundo yung mga actions natin dito. And they were emulating what we were doing. Like, because some portions kasi parang political lang, some are artistic. Tayo kasi it was really fused. And the great thing about the Philippine 1 Billion Rising is that it was multi-sectoral. Like art, we had artists, we had professional women, we had business people, we had some local governments who were good, not all, but quite a few. And then we had students, we had teachers, we had church women, we had farmers, we had the comfort women, but we had men. We had so many men. That's why we also created V-Men, V-Men movement, which started 2 years ago also here in the Philippines. So, I guess they were so impressed with our 1 Billion Rising na. Kasi diba, yung call kasi, Feb 14, diba, 2013. Na tayo kasi, ang ginawa natin, we had build up events pa to go to Feb 14. So I think all in all, the first year, we had something like 150 events all in all. Prior to Feb 14 pa. Kasi Feb 14, because of all the Gabriela chapters, talagang ang dami-daming ridings. So sabi ni Eve sa akin, I'm going to offer you, she gave me the very huge honor of now being the global director of 1 Billion Rising. Because she said, this is what she said to me, we need to learn from the Philippines, how you're doing it there. And the level, parang every time na lang we're stepping up all the time our levels of advocacy and our creativity. We really harness our artistry and creativity. And the beauty of working together.